everybody. It's Slappy McPhee, and today we have Cubert
Hey, what's up?
and Steven.
Hello.
And we are going to go over one of a couple tutorials that we're going to be putting out to the community here in order to assist with helping people add on external storage for their ROMs folder. This first one's going to be one that might be considered to be a little bit easier, just mainly because it'll be using the NTFS file system format on the external storage, and Windows will natively see that and recognize it. And then in a future tutorial, we're going to go ahead and go through it where instead we're using the ext4 format. So go ahead and take it away, Q.
Okay, like you said, we're going to go ahead and format our USB drive to NTFS if it already isn't. I use a Aomi Partition Assistant Standard. It's free. It's pretty quick and easy download, and it seems to see everything and do everything we want it to do. So go ahead and make sure you're selecting the right drive, which is this one right here, my 1.8 terabyte drive, and then you're going to delete any existing partitions because that's what I'm going to do just in case there's anything left over. And then create a partition. You're going to make it NTFS. Then you're going to click apply and make sure it's the right one. This is your last chance. Click proceed. Say yes.
I think that we should actually say correct drive because, you know, the drive could be on the left. You never know. It might not be on the right. Boom chang.
Ha 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 ha. All right, hold on 1 second. Everything's taken care of there. It was completed. Go ahead and close that out. And then you're going to want to safely eject the drive. Hey, it cooperated this time. Okay, once it says it's safe to remove it, go ahead and remove it. And then you're going to plug it into your XU4. And you're going to wait about a minute or so. Depending on the size, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to mount. But while you're doing that, you can start connecting to the Odroid using Bitvice or WinSCP. I prefer Bitvice.
So yeah, to be clear as well, you've already have the build up and running before doing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah. So plugged it in the XU4. It's already booted up. I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear. My bad. And then from a terminal, we're going to go ahead and do fdisk-l, and we're going to log in as root on this. The default password for root is Odroid. If you notice at the bottom, it says disk dev SDA, which is my 1.8 terabyte. It's the device is dev SDA1. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to suggest that you do this because 9 times out of 10 you have to do it the first time. Just do NTFS fix and then /dev and then SDA1. If your drive is 2, make it SDA2 or whatever. Just make it match. So it's already mounted. So if you get something like that, you're going to do umount dev SDA1. And that might take a few seconds for it to unmount it. But then you're going to run that NTFS fix again. And as you can see, it says it was processed successfully. Now we're going to go to the steps in our tutorial. All right, we're going to mount dev SDA1 into mounts. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to copy everything we need from our SD card to the external drive. Shouldn't take too long.
So yeah, to make things clear, in the case of a scenario where somebody just forgets or whatever and they don't have this drive mounted, and there may not be a need to necessarily wig out if they're like, oh my God, all my folders are empty.
Right.
Right? They're going to want to check to see what's going on with this drive because otherwise they're probably going to want to bang their head against a wall.
Exactly. Or actually, if depending on how they have their game list set up, it'll actually show the games, and then they go to launch, go right back to emulation station. Don't panic. It's the NTFS. 9 times out of 10. So that one command that I issued up there will fix that. All right. Once everything's copied, you're going to unmount it. All right. And then you're going to edit the F stab so it mounts it at boot. You're going to add it to the last line. And you're just going to add this right here. If your drive is anything other than SDA1, change it to whatever it needs to be changed to. Press Control and then O to save it, and then Control and then X to exit. And then you're going to mount -A again to auto mount.
So yeah, a point I want to bring up with this is that when you're modifying the F stab, make sure that, Cubert's done this now multiple times, so for him it's easier to walk through it quickly or go through it quickly, but for those that aren't familiar and this is something new, you want to make sure that you take things easy because if it looks like you have done anything wrong in what you've entered, you want to be sure that you do not commit. You don't want to save those changes to the file. You want to back out of it, and destroy what changes you've made, go back into it again and redo it.
Right.
And of course, this brings up the good point of, hey, always trust but verify. That means that, hey, make sure before you do this, of course, we didn't mention it up front, but we'll put it in the description as usual in all caps. Make sure that you back up your image before you make a drastic change like this.
Agreed. All right. Final step is to set the permissions on your external drive, and that's the final command. And you might get something about a system volume information problem, but I didn't this time. So that means we're all set. If you get the thing about the system volume information, just don't worry about it. It's because it's something stupid that Windows puts, kind of like the lost and found thing on a Mac drive. Same thing. Just ignore it. You don't have to use that drive that actual directory anyways. All right. Once that's done, you can just do a reboot, and your drive storage will be ready. I'm going to let it reboot once, the XU4 reboot, and then I'm going to do a full shutdown and then put it back into Windows so you guys can see the directory structure and everything and how to copy over your ROMs. So bear with me real quick.
Do, 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 do. We won't get a copyright strike for that because, it's ad lib.
There you go.
You want to bet on that?
No.
Yeah, no shit.
Damn it, I wish the dogs would have been barking behind during that then.
Yeah. And boot up time is drastically improved. So, but I haven't gotten everything added back on because I dropped my 5 terabyte drive. It was a sad, sad day here. It was a 5 terabyte, not a 6 terabyte. I was swapping the drives out and I dropped it, so it's dead. I had to go get another one. I had to borrow one.
You literally, you mean you literally dropped it?
Yeah, dropped it. Yeah, literally dropped it. Yeah, I dropped the drive, physically dropped it. Yeah, so yeah, there's no coming back. It is it'll take longer to repair it than it would to actually do anything with it, to actually just download everything again. All right, I'm shutting down my XU4 now. Good thing this isn't live, otherwise people would start getting pissed. Okay. All right, now I'm going to plug my drive back into Windows.
And to be clear, of course, you don't necessarily need to do it this way, but at the end of the day, this will be the fastest way to transfer
Fastest
your
way to
content.
transfer, yeah. You can transfer over the network, and you'll get between 20 and 40 meg per second on a gigabit connection, which is actually pretty good, which is much better than, like Pi transfer rates or anything else like that. So, but it's so much quicker just to bring the drive over and drag and drop. As you can see, Windows automatically pops it up, and here's all of your ROM directories. That's why you might have to redo that if you add another emulator onto the SD card, without the drive there. You'll have to add it like that if you don't have rsync. But what you're going to do from here, let me grab something with ROMs on it.
So while you're doing that, yeah, to clarify, essentially, when you do an update to your setup script, we can't say specifically, hey, when it's going to be, because we don't know when somebody in the community, they could go 6 months from now and not do an update, right? So we
Right.
can't really say for sure, but if you want to, while you're getting ready to transfer, while those are transferring, kind of go over the commands again that you would want to rerun, or you could do the sync from SD to HD option in our setup script. However, that
Takes
is going
forever
to take forever.
because it does
So,
everything and then checks and then CRC checks and then over checks. It's just like,
right.
yeah,
So
it's
that's
very
just kind of
ridiculous.
something to be aware of. If as long as you have the time to, per se, it's going to save you a lot of time if you do the manual steps instead. So while it's copying over, you want to bring up your document again, Q, and just go over what you would want to make sure you revisit.
Yeah, sure. Okay, the one you're going to want to do is it's probably already mounted, because you're working fine and all you need to do is copy everything else. So what you would have to do is just log in as root through SSH, and you would run this command here, the cpav home Pi Gaming Retro Arena ROMs and the contents of mount. So it would automatically do it. You don't have to do the unmount after you could do it, because the next time you reboot, everything will be taken care of.
So then it's recommended after you do that copy, then on an update, you want to reboot just to be
Reboot, exactly.
100% safe, which makes complete
Exactly.
sense.
Yep. Because you're not going to immediately see an emulation station, if you exit back in. I would also recommend, it's not required, but I would also recommending, if you have an external keyboard or whatever, just press F4 or use your joystick to exit out of emulation station anytime you're doing any of this. Just in case. I mean, it's not required, but I would, because we're messing with the fstab, which has nothing to really do with emulation station, but still, it's picky.
Stranger things have
It
occurred.
happened. Exactly. So, all right. So I think that's pretty much all anybody needs. Is if you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just eject my drive when I'm done copying over my ROMs. Make sure you do a safe eject. And then just boot up your XU4. And if you want,
So yeah, as a reminder as well, if you're going to transfer content over, just be completely sure that you do have your drive plugged in and it does appear to be correct, because once again, if you didn't have the drive plugged in for whatever reason, you didn't remember to plug it in or whatever, and you bring up your build, and then all of a sudden you decide you're going to transfer content over, it's going to transfer it, but it's going to transfer it to the directory structure on the SD card, if you're transferring via network, because Samba will update from what we're seeing in our experience, so that Samba link, if the drive is unplugged, and correct me if I'm talking like completely wrong here, but if the drive is unplugged, Samba is going to point to that structure for the ROMs folder on the SD card. And if the drive is actually plugged in and mounted, Samba will be updated instead to actually point to the hard drive, correct?
correct.
So that's where you can sometimes kind of see some odd behavior if you're not paying well enough attention. Now, a lot of our community, for example, is using the OGST case. So they're going to most likely be doing network transfers. So after they get the hard drive
Do you see
installed
how
that
quick that
first
was?
time, oh yeah, that was real. Well, yeah, that was pretty
But
quick.
still, I mean, that was creating a new game list too. Usually that would take about 2 minutes, even if it was creating a game list for 4 games,
Yeah, yeah, that's
because of
true.
the refresh and the mount. So like, here you go. There's our stuff.
Yeah, so for those that are using that case, obviously they're going to want to transfer over network, so they shouldn't run too much into this as an issue. But for those that are not using the case, because I personally hate futzing around with opening that case and having to pull the drive back out and putting it back in and pulling it out, closing the case back up. It's just
Right.
just not a good scenario. Um, so with that being equal, why don't we go ahead as well then? While we're here, go ahead and show a network transfer to just show how well it works.
Okay, sure. Give me one moment here. Let me minimize this. And let me plug my ROM drive back in. I need to invest in a USB hub. That's what I need to freaking do. So we'll just take one file that's, see, like here's almost a 300 meg file here. Copy it. We have my Odroid up here. And we got ROMs, 3DO. And as you
So
can see, it's already much, much quicker than it ever was. We were getting 255K per second
yeah,
before. And this is on the USB 2 because of the same reason you said. I don't want to keep undoing my case, so I have it plugged into the USB 2 port, not the USB 3. So if
yeah.
it was in the
So
USB 3, it'd be even faster.
right,
So you're going to get between 20 and 70 depending on the file size. But as you can see, that was much, much, much quicker than anything we've had before. So
right. And then obviously, if you're transferring full media packs over, off your backups or from wherever you procured them, obviously the speed is going to be referencing however big the file size is in file chunk, right? So if you're transferring a whole bunch of PNGs and JPEGs, obviously the speed is going to be relatively slow. But
exactly.
when you get into these larger files, especially from the disk-based system, that's where you're really going to see where the rubber meets the road.
And there you go. There's the cannon father that we just added. So it's nice and quick.
Yep. So did you have any feedback or input or any suggestions regarding all this, Stephen?
Not that I could really see.
All right, cool. So yeah, unless you have any more feedback there, Cubert, the only other thing I could say is if you wanted to, for grins, is to transfer over a game that's absolutely terrible, and we could watch you play for just a couple minutes because that's always
Let's see if I
entertaining.
got one.
What do you mean? You got to see if you have a game that's terrible. You know you do.
Okay, yeah, we'll do Impossible from TurboGrafx 16, the worst hit detection ever. Hold on one second. Yeah, let's try that over since this shit works now. Hold on one second, guys. Put me on the spot here. Like I said, I lost my drive, so now I gotta. Here we go. This is an example of how long it'll take you to do a whole ROM set. Might as well show it. Take less than 5 minutes, and this will show your example of how things change when they're smaller file size. So hold on a second. So it's not going to take long at all, really. 1 minute and 15 seconds to copy over everything, including media and artwork. and game list. So I think people will be pretty happy with that. Is everybody still there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I just feel like I'm just like talking. I'm just like yammering on.
I'm just eagerly anticipating watching you play this game.
Oh, it's not a fun game by any means. But I actually beat it because it was one of the ones I bought. Like back in the day when you had a TurboGrafx 16 and you saw a game out in the wild, you had to buy it because you could hardly ever find them. It's just, but it was Monty Mole on the Commodore 64, and it was also on the NES and everything else like that. But then eventually it became impossible. 1 second here. Yeah, that stuff's fast. See how quick that was? So, all right.
So yeah, even though this is getting recorded, I will be putting a disclaimer once we kind of get to the end of the tutorial itself. So if people want to just stop watching, they can stop watching. But if they want to
Yeah.
continue and see this bit of entertainment, then they're obviously more than welcome to.
Okay. Not too bad, I guess. See, I'm trying to kick this thing up and it won't frickin' go. Stupid piece of shit. See what I'm saying? It's like ridiculous. What the fuck? I'm kicking. It's like 3-second delay. And it's not a problem with our emulation. See, I kicked it in the same place twice. It only came up once. See, look at that. Now watch this. If I go a little bit more, it's going to work. Okay, there you go. Fucking shit.
What is the whole premise of this game? Because I'm not getting it.
Super Mole goes and saves everything, but
What?
he really annoys you.
So that's all you do with those things when you can pick
Yeah,
them up and
it's
throw them
really,
at your enemies?
yeah, it's just basically let's nail Mario's leftovers, you know. And I'm trying to kick these things, and the hit detection is so fucking god awful. I'm just lucky I'm hitting shit. Woo! And now he's fucking himself. Did you see that?
Oh boy.
Let's see if we can get out of a level.
You can just try to run and gun or what?
Yep. It's got great music, great graphics, everything. I was like so excited to play it, and then I'm just, oh shit, now I don't want to play it. And that was back before GameStop and shit, so you couldn't take shit away. You couldn't take shit back, you know, to the stores anymore.
Right. No deposit, no return.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Look at this. Like you have hardly any time to react because you're already half off the screen where it scrolls. See? So it's like 3/4 of the way across the screen already. You know? What the fuck?
Oh, this is one of those. So what's funny is that must be one of those European games.
It is a European game. Yeah. It was originally done by Gremlin Software and stuff on the Commodore 64.
Okay, so yeah, I was watching
Monty the Mole. Yeah.
You know, shameless plug for GameSack. If you're not a
Yeah, they
subscriber
had
to
that on GameSack too. Yeah.
yeah, they had their, pet peeves of gaming, and this was actually in their first episode.
One of them in there. Yeah.
Yeah, in the last few days. It was so funny because they were talking about it's like it's
This
water.
and Exile on the TurboGrafx 16 as well.
Why did water hurt you? That makes no sense at all. It doesn't make any sense. Water hurting you. I mean,
What,
rain.
look at these guys fucking themselves or something, like playing leapfrog and shit. Look, I didn't even touch them and I just died. You see that? I got hit. I didn't even touch them. See? What the fuck?
I don't think you're gonna make it through the level, man.
Oh no, I'm not going to make it through the level. I'm just happy I made it underground.
Well, all right then. I think that's enough.
If you notice, even on GameSec, their version didn't go farther than this level here either.
I don't. Yeah, I don't
I
think
don't
it
think it
did.
did.
No. So I think this is enough Cubert punishment. Appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. Hopefully you found, if you stayed this long, hopefully you found the tutorial informative and it works out for you. Obviously, you know, disclaimer is the fact that we don't take any responsibility if you jack your stuff up. But otherwise than that, I hope, or we hope you're entertained by the Cubert punishment here, and we will look forward to seeing you guys the next time. Take care.
See ya.
Later.